Another CEO Wisdom podcast with a guest that I enjoyed talking with last time. His name is Isaac Morehouse. He's co-founder at Partner Hacker. Last time we discussed Partner Hacker, we discussed career hackers as well. I had the chance to interview some of the folks at Partner Hacker as well, which could be one topic of today, but we're mostly going to talk about building a portfolio of a startup ecosystem, which is something I'm investing probably 15% of my resources this year into. So, Isaac, welcome back to the pod. Tell us a bit
Hey,
more about yourself and the ecosystem that you're building right now.
hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Well, yeah, first I'd love to get, you said you're spending like 15% of your time on that. What, when you say building a startup ecosystem, what does that mean? Like companies that you have some level of involvement in, maybe it's investment, maybe you're an advisor, maybe you founded it and handed it off. Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I can define that. So, my thesis to build first an ecosystem of agencies. So I have my SDR agency, I have my podcasting agency, I want to have the recruitment agency, software agency, although I need an edge for these two. And basically these agencies will convert themselves into SaaS with time, and will provide sufficient cash flow so I can work on my moonshots, namely AGI, BCI, and longevity. These are my three main passions. Each of these agencies will have a COO at first, which will become a CEO. My role into this whole thing, sales, bringing them nice partners, yeah, like capital if they need to, advisory, mentorship, and yada yada. I can offer quite a lot. And the ecosystem, why it's called an ecosystem, that one agency could help another, right? So one could provide recruitment for the SDR agency, the SDR could provide leads for the recruitment agency, help one another grow with that. And it's kind of a very compact community inside another bigger community, which could be the mastermind, and even wider would be the podcast. So like it's circle into circle into circle. So that's the
I,
vision.
I love it. You are so much more clear and tightly defined in your goals there than I ever was, certainly early on. But a lot of the things you described, at least some of them, ended up kind of happening almost on accident. So in 2013, I launched my first company called Praxis, and that was bootstrap. I mean, really bootstrapped. I did raise like 150,000 from an angel from like a very non-traditional. They were more just like excited about the idea, and weren't even really looking for an exit. It was more like, hey, this is awesome. I'd love to see it happen. And so basically bootstrapped it. I mean, 150,000, doesn't get you very far. We had to get paying customers within 6 months, enough to cover everything. So I built that up. I did everything myself at the beginning from scratch, and that's a program. It still exists today. It's a phenomenal company. That it's a boot camp for people. It's like a college alternative, 6-month boot camp that trains them on startup jobs, non-technical, like sales, marketing, customer success, and then a 6-month apprenticeship where we place them in a startup. They're paid during the apprenticeship, so the net result is after a year, they've earned more money than the program costs. So it's a net cost of zero. They come out with 6 months of experience working in a startup, and 96% of them get hired full time after the
Love
program.
it, man.
So, I started that and it was like, okay, just me doing everything, and then like calling in favors for friends and just like, hey, I can't pay you, but can you help me do this? I'll give you some phantom stock, or I'll do just anything I could. And then as we got a little bit of revenue, I started hiring one by one, and, got up to, 3-4 years in, got up to where we had like, 15 employees or so. And to your point, one of my very first customers came and started working for me on the side. He loved the program. And in fact, he came and said, I want to work for you. And I said, I can't afford to pay you. He said, well, what's the thing I can do to help the most? I said, you could be a customer. Because he was early. He had actually gone through college, but he was early in his career. And I'm like, go through the program, see what it's like, help me along the way. And then when we're big enough, I'll hire you. So he did, hired him on. And little by little, he just got better and better and was like everything in the company. Eventually, he was the glue guy, needed him. So he became the COO.
Joel, right?
And And then when I went and raised venture to try to do, to your point, to try to turn what was a service business into a software business, which is a whole other story with lessons learned. A few things worked, most didn't. I basically handed over the reins of Praxis to him as CEO. And eventually he and another employee there got some investors to, buy me out and to take, now I'm an advisor there. I mean, I still have a small, like, advisor level equity, and I still, advise the company, but, basically, like, getting it from 0 to 1 and getting it running into a well-oiled machine, and then handing it off to somebody that I had kind of trained, and then letting them run it where I still have a little stake in it and I'm still there, but, like, I did my part and now it's out in the world. That is my favorite thing in the world. So that was really great. The part that didn't work so well was trying to turn a service business, trying to slice off one layer of all the things that we did in that year-long program and say, hey, we could productize this and turn this into a software platform where job seekers could come on. Because what we were doing was helping young people, these people that were 18, 19, 20, no degree, no experience. They were getting jobs that said 2 to 3 years of experience and a 4-year degree required. And they were getting them because they were putting together a short pitch deck where they would put together a project they made specifically for that company. Hey, I made this thing for you, right? Like, oh, I went and saw your FAQ page was pretty weak, and I found all these people on Facebook asking these questions. I put together a new FAQ page. Here you go. Here's a draft. And they would send a video pitch introducing themselves, showcasing things they had actually built. I built this website. I created MailChimp, a MailChimp email sequence. You get that and you're hiring an entry-level marketer, it's more valuable than any degree or resume.
Hell yeah.
So I was like, we could turn that into a platform where we help millions of job seekers create video pitches, create projects, and run your job hunt the way that a good salesperson runs a sales process. It's not just like, let me just spam out as many emails as I can. Let me just spam resumes all day. The average person, it's like 200 applications to get a job interview. If you're doing the one-click apply on LinkedIn or whatever, it takes like months and months and months of just low quality. So instead, pick 5 or 10 companies that you're really interested in. Go ask everyone in your network, hey, I'm interested in these companies. I made this video for them. Do you know anyone who works there? Go out publicly and share it. Hey, I made this video for, this company. I'd love to work for them. Pass it along if you want to. Email them directly. Email the hiring manager. Email other people at the company. Connect with them on social. Hey, I saw you worked at this company. I'm applying for a job there. Any tips? Like, you surround that decision maker with influence and proof of what you can do, like running your job hunt that way. So anyway, we tried to create a platform to do that. We had many different iterations on this thing as we were trying to find the fit. We had a version that was like Product Hunt for people, where you launch your job hunt publicly and then people can come and upvote you and whatever. We had a version that was basically just like a CRM for job hunters, where it's got all of the companies you're looking at, whatever. Video pitch creation tool, very, very simple, tailored video pitches that you send to the company, and it's got data on who watched it and all this stuff. All these things were super cool. And every one of them, every version of it, about 150 to 200 people a month would use it, would love it. It would change their life and they get an amazing job. But you can't build a venture scale business with 200 people a month using it on the consumer side, right? Like, there's really no business model. We tried paid and free, didn't make a difference. Because we were like, well, maybe if we make it free and then we try to collect where companies are hiring them, we say, hey, we'll take a fee for helping you find this talent. We tried like, we'll worry about that later. And then we're like, well, maybe people need skin in the game. We'll charge them $60 a month, $10 a month. We tried everything. Didn't matter. The same number of people, whether it was free or paid, would use it and love it, and it would change their life. And no matter how big our top of funnel was, we could have 10,000 leads one month, 200 would use it. We could have 1,000 leads one month, 200 would use it. It was like here's my conclusion. I understood the market so well for the Praxis program of really high caliber young people who are very driven. It's like a Navy SEALs for career, right? It's a very tough, challenging program. And you have to be different and very confident to say, I'm not going to college. Everyone puts pressure on you. I'm going to go to this boot camp. So I was working with that audience, working with a couple hundred people a year, and taking too much insight from that and extrapolating it to the broader market and overestimating the amount of work that the average job seeker is willing to put in. Like, people would get on the platform, be like, this is great. And then it would come time to record that video pitch. And 90% of our users would just stop right there. They would fill out the profile. They would never record that 60-second video pitch. If I got on a call with them in 10 minutes, I could get them hyped up to record that video and to use it, and it would work. And they would thank me. But it wasn't scalable to do that. Right? Like me, that's back to a service business. That's me taking a bunch of calls and convincing young people how to do their job hunt. That's me being a consultant. And with entry-level job seekers, the business model doesn't make any sense. They're not dropping tons of money for that kind of stuff. So like, we just could not get it to scale. But I'll bring it around. This is a long story. Here's the thing that did work though. Our marketing, just like with Praxis, basically zero paid ads, no sales team, no real like all content and community, all like living in market. Tons of podcasts, tons of blog articles, tons of social media posts, just being out there speaking at conferences. So we did this with what was called Crash. We launched a newsletter, the Daily Job Hunt, and that thing got up to over 200,000 subscribers. People loved our guides, our books, our downloadable content. They loved the blog. They loved the podcast. That was connecting. Getting them to use the product was too much of a hurdle. But so we did a rebrand and just said, let's just be a media company, because that's what's working. So we rebranded to Career Hackers. I told all my investors, sorry, it was painful, horrible to after 3-4 years of banging my head against the wall to make this work. Like, tech platform not working. This is not a venture scale business. This is a bootstrap type business, a cash flow business. Converted it to a media company, and then had Joel, who I had trained, take over running it, and actually just sold it recently to a company that is right up your alley, because it's what you're describing. It's Wasabi Ventures, and it's basically like a whole family of companies that are all owned fully by Wasabi Ventures, and they share, like, they have a lot of media companies, they have a lot of different companies. They share kind of like centralized back office type operations and a lot of skills they can immediately deploy. So they brought that into their family of companies, and are running Career Hackers now. So anyway, that's my very bumpy road. The vision you laid out is what I would love. So far, I've only been able to get bits and pieces of that.
How can I find more companies like Wasabi Ventures? Like, I just put the keyword ventures in above because they describe themselves as a financial service company, because venture capital, it won't necessarily be this. Venture cap, most of the time it's a portfolio of SaaS and software companies.
Where you're just an investor, you put in the money and it's pretty passive. This is
I want to interview these folks on my pod, and ask them these questions.
Bring them on. I'll make an intro to you. The guy who runs it, phenomenal. Thanks. The dude, he started all with his own money. He made a lot of money. And so it's not, he has no LPs. So it's like, he's just running a whole family of companies, and he's got his core crew. And when they find companies that they like, they think are a good fit, they go and buy them. They bring them into the fold, and they're running tons of them.
Nice. Love it.
Very interesting.
I have a bunch of questions for you. So for the service to SaaS model, I guess following the rule of 10 to 100 experiments, that was one out of like 10 to 100. Do you agree that if you would deploy 10 more experiments somehow and find the energy to do that, you could possibly hit a success on that model?
I do. It's interesting. When I ended up jumping after selling Career Hackers, was like, what am I going to do next? And I told you on the last episode about Partner Hacker, and then we ended up getting acquired. So now I'm working in the SaaS side, and still running a media company, but it's owned by a SaaS company. There's parts of me that are like, but I know so much about the early career space. I spent a decade there. I know it in and out. I built a service company, a software company. Like, shouldn't I be using that expertise there? There's another part of me that's like, I needed a new market. I was so burned out. I just like, so anyway, quick answer. Yeah. Even a lot of people come to me with early stage, like decks. I love to give feedback on slide decks and strategic narrative and things like that, branding, positioning, and anything in the ed tech space. I usually get a lot of people coming and asking for advice and input. And I usually turn down any kind of formal advisory role, but I like to put forth, I'd like to take a look at those things. And I can immediately see a lot of things that won't work, but then there's a lot of things that I still have questions. Like, I bet this could work. There's a lot of different models that I think could potentially work. most of them, I feel like you need to bootstrap your way into proving it before you raise any venture.
I
Because
agree with that.
raising venture too early on the consumer side, especially, I think it can just kill you. You know, I think that's what happened to us. It's possible if I would have just rolled this out as a media company first, let's just build a huge audience around the idea of hacking your job hunt, hacking your career, and then sort of taken that audience and teased out different products to them and experimented and rolled out on a small scale and see what's working and what's not. Hey, what about a video pitch tool? What, you know, and then these days, all these video Loom and stuff came about, which made a lot of that stuff easier without a dedicated, you know, job hunt one. But yeah, bottom line, yes, I think more experiments, there's a chance that something hits there.
When it comes to selling a business, I just took a note, like selling the unsellable. So like, let's say that you start a venture and that you have, it's really Frankenstein, right? You have pieces left and right, one in ops, another system in marketing and so forth. I would picture an open AI chatbot in which you would ask it a question. I'm looking to acquire this part of a business, and it would be two-sided platform, and it would shoot you like aspects of business that are struggling and that might want an exit. That could be pretty cool, right? Because most of the acquisitions are like full business acquisition, but there's not like something to sell its parts. So just had that idea. Then I had like two more questions. I've always struggled with blogs and articles and SEO. Like first, how has that played out for you? And the second question is for the newsletter. How the heck did you get to 200K? I'm guessing it's organic, but yeah, like I suck at both and I need advice there.
Yeah, well, the newsletter question is interesting. It's partially organic and partially partnerships, which is what I ended up doing later.
Yeah.
On the SEO and stuff, the game has changed so much. So when I started Praxis 10 years ago, like my personal WordPress blog, it was so easy to get. I blogged every single day. So for one thing, consistency and just putting out tons of content and getting really good and having a radical point of view that people associate with you. Like, don't go to college, you know, like constantly saying that in tons of different ways and giving all kinds of reasons around it, blogging about it every day. That's part of it. But the game was different. Like Google actually worked. People actually used it, right? Like it wasn't, Facebook was like so easy at the time. You create great content on Facebook, it goes viral. They used to treat company pages just like individual pages. So they would get all sorts of visibility. So like those tactics have to shift and change all the time. I had a brief phase where I was blowing it up on Quora and I was using Quora every day. And then that got played out and stopped working. Medium was working great for a while. That got played out and stopped working. So like right now, LinkedIn is amazing, especially in the B2B space. So it changes and you have to adapt. You know, podcasts are really big, but podcasts are a very slow and steady build. You don't go viral with a podcast. It's like you just compound little by little and you got to be really consistent and play the long game. So what I've found is find a channel that works for you, as in you get excited about it. You love making content in that channel and you have a consistent routine and you're going to do it even if no one watches because you enjoy it. And like find that and wherever the distribution of that is a platform that you already live in and enjoy. Because trying to break into, I remember I tried several times to like get active on Reddit and try to like break into Reddit. And I'm not naturally a Redditor. It never worked because they can smell an outsider, right? It's like whatever social media you use the most, that's probably the one where it's going to work the best. It's the most natural. For me, it used to be Facebook, and then it became Twitter. Now it's LinkedIn. And I think just like focus on that and double down where it's working and giving you energy. But it's definitely shifting. It's shifting. And I think that's where like tighter community, that whole idea of like 1,000 true fans, more true now than ever. People are overwhelmed in noise. There's just too much information. And so they're looking to those tighter communities. It's not about how many people, it's about the right people. If you got the right people following you, the rabid fans in whatever platform works for that, double down on that. On the newsletter. So it's funny, our blog, you know, like to your point, the blog traffic just kept getting slowly, like basically it was just plateauing. It wasn't really growing. And we were putting out amazing content. It was so good, like truly world-class stuff. Like, cause I've been in this space for so long and I know like so much crappy, just auto-generated SEO bait content. And I'm like, this content is so good. No one's reading it. And then I looked at our email open rates for when we would send, emails to signups occasionally about like a new product feature or something like that. And they were like really high. And I thought, I had this suspicion that people, while they're on the job hunt, are insanely attentive to their inbox because they got all these applications out there. So they're looking to see if anybody replied. So I was like, what if we just put the blog content, what if we put it into your inbox? And what if we send it to you every day? And it's the daily job hunt. It's on it. And so like immediately the open rates were crazy good at first, and it started to grow pretty quickly organically. And then I would just go and talk about it on podcasts everywhere. I'd be like hitting people over the head with radical ideas about your job hunt, like burn your resume, literally never use your resume again, and everything will get better. And people be like, what are you talking about? And then I'd be like, go sign up for the daily job hunt. Like go sign up, go sign up for the daily job hunt, right? Tons of content, tons of out there in the market, social media, podcasts, videos, blah, 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 speaking engagements. Then we were partnering up with other people who had newsletters or podcasts and saying, hey, let's give you a link to get people to sign up. And we would do like a pretty low cost, we'll pay you 50 cents or something for every sign up, just experimenting with stuff like that. And it wasn't so much the volume from any one of those as the effect of just having tons of them out there. And we would mostly do swap deals. If there's something that's relevant to our audience, we'll throw a plug in our newsletter, you throw a plug in your newsletter, right? And we just do a lot of those swap deals. And then the final piece that unlocked a much faster rate of growth, although it did definitely bring our open rates down, was we found several sort of jobs board aggregators or like jobs board type sites where in the sign up process, they had co-registration, so to speak. You sign up for the board and there's a few check boxes. Would you also like to subscribe to the daily job hunt or subscribe to this or get a call from this? And having that checkbox, it's fairly high intent because it wasn't pre-checked. They had to choose to check it specifically. So they were specifically saying, I want this newsletter. And it was like 25, 30 cents per subscriber. We juiced that up for a while and it just like exploded it. And then we pulled it back down and started to curate and cultivate the list and do things more like referral program from current readers and different things like that. So it was kind of a combination of all those things, but I think really partnering with people that you're not buyers in this case, subscribers, partnering with people that they already trust, that they're already listening to. That was it. That was totally the thing. Like running ads or something like that, I don't think is worth it for building an audience around things like
Examples of partners for that one?
So, we had anything from podcasts and newsletters around financial literacy to ones about politics and economics to other career related things to, like anything in the adjacent space. You think about people in their 20s to early 30s who are on the job hunt. What other stuff are they up to? Health, fitness, right? Ideas about personal growth and development, financial management, maybe things about moving to new cities, anything related to that. Like we would try to find any of those outlets and come up with some sort of swap deal or something like that with them.
Love it. So like, I advertise you on my next newsletter, or I give you a quick shout out on my next pod and you do the same. That's genius.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It really is. And it's like, how many people that want to know about, some specific type of whatever health regimen are also interested in doing a more interesting job, and they want right. There's just plenty of opportunity there.
Taking lots of notes here. We didn't have the opportunity to get like real deep in the portfolio and the thesis behind that, but and yeah, another one for the future. You've added lots of value again today, so thank you for that, Isaac. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn right now is probably where I'm the most active. So if you just look up Isaac Morehouse on LinkedIn, you will definitely be able to see all the stuff that I'm up to now in the B2B space. And I'm also on Twitter and I've got a personal website.